That is a really, really cool goal. And I can
Right.
kind of see how all of this fits together. And like you have a very clear passion for the future of VR. You clearly hope that this is going to go well and like look, I'm not anywhere near as attached to VR as you are, but it's hard not to be excited when I see someone with this much passion about the space.
For sure, and that's what it's like, right? There are so many people out there already on YouTube and things like that. One of the first guys I sent my game to on YouTube is
Mm.
Fit Pro VR, and like I said, he's an actual personal trainer. He
Mhm.
works in the fitness industry already, but sees that that obviously, yeah, the gamers aren't as into fitness
Mhm.
as other people, and like in a way, like we say gamers. I mean, almost everybody's a gamer to some
Sure,
extent
sure.
now. There's a lot of casual gamers out there and stuff now as well, and vice versa, right? Like I feel like um I want to gear this to gamers first and help them get a little bit off the couch, get a little bit more activity into their day. But I've been pulling people in from the other side of things a bit more as well, right?
Mhm.
Where it's like, okay, like I'm already into fitness, I'm already into cycling, I'm already into this, but actually this would make me do it more. This would make me
Mm.
more excited about it. I mean, we had a woman that played the game at Avcon just recently. She does horseback archery and she loved the game and
Mm.
she's like,
Mhm.
oh my god, this is so cool, right? Or we met these girls from a female motorcycle club
Mm. Mhm.
here in Adelaide. I cannot remember the name of their club right now, but super awesome stuff. And this is these girls that are like, look, we like motorbikes, we want to ride together, and we also want to kind of remove a bit of the stigma about a motorcycle club or whatever,
Mm.
right? It's not all gangs and drugs and
Right,
whatever,
right,
right?
right.
So all of these different pastimes, and I think people just yeah, they want community, they want a cool activity that they can do together and do something fun. And so those are those ways that we can do that digitally. We can create these groups and these kind of shared moments, experiences, and activities.
Mhm. Mhm.
But then also, yeah, we can do it in a completely digital way as well, but we can add in that physicalness to it that helps us out a little bit and also adds to the fun of it.
Mhm.
And yeah, like legitimately it's a bit of a rush doing some of this kind of stuff. So it's super cool. For sure, like there has to be passion in it. And that's what's really cool, I think, about the VR space as well. Like
Mhm.
you said, like hopefully this is gonna happen. It's gonna happen because if they don't do it, we will.
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
that's sort of where we're at. Like we say that that Meta is really in the industry and people keep writing articles, VR is dead and all this kind of stuff. The good thing is that they can't take it away from us now,
Mhm.
right? So Palmer Luckey started all of this and brought VR back from the dead from the 1980s. But we have the technology now. The all of the specs, all of the tech and everything, it's all online. We know how to build it. If Meta was to to turn the tap off tomorrow, there'd be 100 startups
Mhm.
you know in its place the next day. And we already have all of these crazy different headsets and stuff. These other companies that are all building this thing, um, regardless of whether the tech gods want us to do it or not, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
We have these cool like open source projects. We've got these like really niche VR headsets. We already have little goggle headsets that are tiny, tiny, tiny that fit to your head. They're still wired and they still use external tracking and things like that. But you can
Mhm.
wear it all day and it's super comfortable, really fashionable. And it's hardcore, and that's what people like, right? Like
Mhm.
people like
Mhm.
tinkering with things, people like building stuff. It's gonna happen regardless, because yeah, there is so much passion here, and we grew up wanting this future.
Mhm.
It's this thing that I've been saying a lot lately is that we grew up, the year 2000 rolled around and we're like, oh my God, it's going to be flying cars and robots everywhere. We're going to have a robot butler and we're going to have jetpacks and flying cars. And then we got a little bit older and we went, oh, that's weird. They're not here yet. And then we got a little bit older and we went to university and then we went like, why are the jetpacks and flying cars not here yet? And then we went, oh, no, wait a minute. That's the one thing they never told us is that, yes, we will have flying cars, jetpacks, and robot butlers, but we're the ones that have to build it. And that's where we are now, right? So like robot butlers are like they're coming. They're coming now because we built them. People are, there was an underground community of people fighting tiny robotic transformers in Japan. And then that technology now is working up to be like, well, the robots can work in the factory so we can play more video games, right? So again, that's kind of the optimistic view on the future is that we're going to build the future that we want to see. And if they don't do it, we will. It'll just take longer. And that was sort of my thing as well with VR games. Was that the money wasn't there initially. There wasn't a lot of investment. There weren't these big companies coming in and spending lots of money coming in and building the types of games that we want to play in VR. But the indie teams were doing it. It was just taking a little bit longer. It doesn't quite look as good or whatever, but it's getting there slowly. The tools are getting more powerful. It's getting faster and faster to do this stuff. It takes less and less money. But also the audience is bigger. And so you don't need to make $1 million off of your game. You can make a little bit and you can, you can have just enough people to keep the business running, and you can build the next thing and the next thing. So that's sort of where we're at. It's still very much an indie and passion fueled industry. And then eventually, the bigger games will look over and go, oh, what's that over there? Like I said, we're getting Deadpool next year, which is really crazy. There actually was a VR showcase today. At 1 a.m. this morning, there was a VR showcase that showed off sort of the best of the best, what's coming in the industry right now. And we're talking like there's a Battlefield equivalent called Forefront coming out. Huge battles, huge like vehicles, everything. Big multiplayer battle sim military game. Super cool stuff. Like there's still nothing better than reloading a rifle manually in VR. Freaking awesome. We have our Counter-Strike equivalent. We have our Armor equivalent in VR. We're getting our Battlefield equivalent in VR, which is awesome. And then we're getting a game called Reach that looks freaking awesome. Really, really cool stuff. I don't know where you would put it if it was like a real world equivalent. Sort of like a Horizon kind of Titanfall sort of game, but very physical, lots of parkour. So I'd say, Titanfall, Apex kind of thing, but it's a story-based exploration game. We're getting some cool open world stuff, some cool little kitschy indie stuff. So there was a couple of showcases this year, one of which that I was in, which is the Upload VR showcase, which was super awesome for me. I had no idea that it was rebroadcast on IGN and Game Trailers, which was just incredible. I didn't know that at the time. And so got lots of views and everything like that. But Upload VR is sort of like your Android Central or your sort of mainstream press, article kind of website in VR. So they get to review all the hardware. They get to do all the really in-depth into the tech stuff. So that showcase didn't actually have the best sort of response from commenters and stuff on YouTube. Really positive on some of the channels and less positive on some of the other channels, depending on how into VR you are, right? But that was the one thing I didn't realize being involved in that one, is that I know all the people that know what Upload VR is. I know that they know where the industry's at, and they know what's coming, they know what's happening, they know where we're at. But IGN viewers don't, and so they were like, oh, VR is dead, where's this, where's that, where's the AAA games, these games look like kids games or whatever. And it's a little bit unfortunate because unfortunately if you are an indie developer and you're making a game for VR right now, it's a pretty small audience in comparison to your consoles. The metric out there a lot was that there was like 2.5 million Quest 2s sold in X amount of time or whatever. So unfortunately there's more Quest 2s out there is anything else, because it was the cheapest headset to exist, because they were really pushing for mass market, right? It's running on a very old mobile chip now, so it's hard to get your game running on the Quest 2. You can't make games for the Quest 1 anymore, like in terms of you can't actually launch it on there anymore. They've locked that off. So the Quest 2 is sort of your your 10-year-old PC. And when you make your game on Steam, you want your minimum system specs to be as low as possible, because you want as many gamers to be able to play it as possible. If they've got a cheap toaster potato PC.
That's what I hope would be the goal. I see the direction AAA games are going.
But that's the thing, right? And then it's, we were all kids at one point when it was like, oh, Oblivion came out. And then my friend bought Oblivion day one and it wouldn't run on his computer. And he spent all his pocket money or whatever on Oblivion. And I kind of went, can I borrow this? Because it will run on my computer, which is rough, right? And so that's why a lot of indie devs and stuff are they're making the game run on Quest 2. And then they usually make a PC VR version, which is like a little bit better, things like that. But unfortunately, you have to try and make your game for the widest audience possible, right? Which then makes you choose like more stylized graphics and things like that. It's not going to look like your AAA title. And then that, especially on the Upload VR showcase, that sort of hit the commenters and the viewers of that. They all sort of went, oh, VR still looks like PlayStation 1 graphics. That's gross or whatever, right? But that was because it was a very specific slice of the VR industry. The VR showcase is the one that just dropped last night or this morning. They do 2 showcases a year. That's where the bigger titles are. That's where the biggest studios are. And I think the one to look out for if you're not into VR is a studio called Flat to VR Studios. Their business model is really exciting because they started out in the mod industry and they were doing VR mods for flat screen games like Half-Life, like Doom, like Tomb Raider and all these other types of games, right? That like it wasn't actually that hard for some of these older games to just like quickly, knock out a VR layer for it and post it on SideQuest, which is sort of our like off-platform place where you can just send experiments and mods and all that kind of stuff. So Flat to VR Studios are now a much more formalized business, and they're kicking out games. They're kind of like a Night Dive Studios now. So they're doing remakes, they're doing reposts, they're doing VR mods and equivalents for these games. So they're doing Postal 2 soon. Flat Out, they're doing the VR mod of, and a couple of other games. I only quickly checked the VR showcase this morning. I can't remember everything because I was half asleep. But they're pumping out some really cool original games and mods for games that we already love coming to VR, right? Then we're getting our big drops, right? Then we're getting like your next level like horror shooter game coming out, your sci-fi horror or shooter or that kind of stuff, or a puzzle game, or these kinds of nice little indie things. Another one, so Moss is a really cute game where you play as like a mouse, but you're sort of this like deity. It's kind of like a Zelda experience, but it's like tiny mouse scale. It's really cute. Well, they're dropping like a strategy version in their universe now. So there's these cool games coming. It's not as big drop as like getting a FromSoft game or a Hideo Kojima game or your Horizons, your Gears of Wars or whatever. Not quite there yet, but we're starting to get some of those experiences now, and we're starting to get some of those developers now where they're knocking out sequels of some of their best games. They're knocking out really cool twists on the genres or pulling out these new games that are, like I said, we're getting a Battlefield. We've got our Hitman. We've got Deadpool coming out next year. There's some really cool stuff coming. So the VR showcase is sort of the one you want to check out if you want to know where the big dogs are playing. And what's cool is, like I said, Flat to VR are pumping out original games, but also mods of or VR ports of games that we already know and love, which is going to bring people into VR, which is really exciting.